Welcome to this week's episode of the Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast. Happy to have a Mr. Stephen Hill back with us. He was missing last week in action, but he has returned, and I'm sure he's got all those opinions that are just diametrically opposed to my own. But it, throw some good curveballs in. But that being said, I will leave the beginning of the show to the floor because I don't really have anything that I really want to jump all over, but I'm sure one of you guys does.
Well, there was a couple of good new characters that came up this week, so we could jump right into some of these new guys that or old faces that have become new faces. So maybe just a few of them we could talk about. Like the number one I would like to bring up is, how about that mustache on Robert Roode?
It's glorious.
It's epic.
Glorious.
I love the Rick Rude throwback. It's really cool. And it's about time he's a heel. Like it's a long time coming for him to be a heel. He was an amazing heel in NXT, and I think he was dying to get back into that character, and I think this is going to be perfect for him. So it should be good. I'm looking forward to how far the mustache can go.
I think it can go pretty far. It's quite the epic stash.
Yeah, in his solo career, throughout every company he's been with, he always delivers better as a heel, always.
Well, I always remember, that towards the end of his NXT run, he was on fire, and he was just like a total piece of garbage in the best way possible. You know what I mean? The best way, but like him and Roderick Strong, like that back and forth was just so good. Like towards the very end.
It should be interesting, and it's gonna be good for Gable too. Like getting Gable off of his tag team, and gimmick. Gable's just got to find a gimmick now.
Yeah, it all comes down if they do something with Gable.
Well, maybe
sacrificing him to Lars Sullivan. Is that what you're talking about?
But that wasn't too bad, right? Like they didn't make him just get like a squash match or something. He just got blindsided, and he took a good bump. I mean, I'm fine with that. It'd be different if he had like a match with Lars Sullivan and got like pinned. Like getting jumped from behind doesn't do anything to the character.
So do they coordinate those bumps with the refs? Like, so they had a ref underneath, and he like gives him a signal when he's getting ready to hit him or something like that.
I don't know. It looked pretty. Like, it looked like he had no clue when it was going to happen. To be honest, it looked great.
He knew it was going to happen, but not when.
Yeah. I mean, it's his job to make it look good. It's like, and he's Chad Gable, so he's great at doing that.
Was wearing a little bit too much tanner, though. Did you notice how white his face was compared to how brown his body was? I get it. Like sometimes they got to put some tanner on, but whoa, those were two different colors going out there.
I think he should roll with that. I think he should just put even more tanner on the body and keep the face white. I mean, that would be fun.
Why not?
I mean, anything to keep you entertained. Speaking of entertainment, couple switches. We had our whole episode last week about the Superstar Shakeup, but they did switches back in the opposite direction. So Selena Vega and Andrade moved to SmackDown, which probably has to do with the fact that they wanted to move Alistair over to SmackDown. So, keeping couples together, and it definitely
not completely. Andrade got moved partially because of Charlotte too. They recently got engaged.
Yeah. I remember they were a thing. Yes.
Yep, and there is a little bit of thing out there talking about how they want more Latinos on the SmackDown show because of Fox coming up. For that too. So there's a few things I think that a lot of good reasons to put him over there. And honestly, I feel like it's a better fit for him over there too.
Yeah, the match with him and Finn was great. And from apparently Fox is requesting certain people be on SmackDown whenever they go live. So you might end up seeing some more faces move before too long.
Well, I'm sure they've got the main ones though. They probably want Charlotte Flair. They probably want Roman Reigns. The problem is they probably want Becky Lynch too. They probably want all the cake and to eat it too, which is at some point you got to kind of put your foot down and say, well, we can't just give Fox every single major star. But network television, it's a powerful thing. I mean,
money talks. Just that.
What do you think of that SmackDown roster now, Jimmy?
I think it went like I was saying in the last episode that I preferred it over Raw. Now it's like way better than Raw in my opinion. Like it's almost nowhere close because once you threw Alistair over and you threw Andrade back and
Such
then
a strong mid card, right?
yeah. Oh yeah, no, the mid card's even better now. Oh yeah. I'm just like the thing I said
That's what you
before.
kept hitting on the other day.
Yeah.
Was it had such a strong mid card.
And even bringing Jinder Mahal over, like Jinder Mahal, like God, don't push him as like a main guy, but as a mid carder, he's fucking great. He's a great heel. So I just hope we don't have any more of those like Jinder Mahal Shinsuke Nakamura matches. Ugh. I'm sure Nick would agree with me on
Jinder Mahal is really close to being a Grand Slam champion.
that. I don't have an issue with that happening. I mean,
What does
I
he
just
need?
think that would be an odd one. I guess. Yeah, he'd be the first Indian one. So yeah,
Intercontinental, I think, is what he needs because he has had U.S. title.
he's had U.S. Did he have tag?
No.
I don't think he's had tag.
No, I don't think so.
Get
The
tag,
3MB.
the IC title.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
The next few months.
he's got an opportunity. I mean, but who do you have him tag team with?
Who knows?
Let's have him tag team with Kevin
Power.
Owens because we like for things to make sense in wrestling, and that makes no sense.
Rusev would make more sense. Kevin Owens, another guy who's show back to his true colors, is great.
No, it's not great though. Let me just
okay. I know what you're gonna say. So I think it was the right call for a storyline, but it was too soon. They should have dragged that out longer. I love Owens as a heel, but it was fun to see him as a face, and they could have let that last longer.
Absolutely.
It just seemed like they just kind of cut it off.
You know why?
I told you today, Beth actually goes, oh, so he's going to turn on Kofi. And I turn and I go, no, not yet, but eventually, yeah. And then 5 minutes later, he's turning on Kofi. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess you're right. So I don't understand why they did it so quick. So why they do it, Steven? Tell me.
He's going to be the transition champion. He's going to be the one who gets the heat for taking the belt off Kofi so he can turn around and drop it to Roman Reigns.
Oh.
There it was. The
Yep.
sigh of realism. That's what we're gonna start calling it. The sigh of realism.
It's that
I feel
Bailey
good.
moment for you.
I feel good for KO, but come on, guys! Like every time with Roman Reigns, every time I'm just digging him right now. Like, cool, just don't even need a belt. I don't need Roman to have a belt. Just have his storylines with Elias and have his storylines with whoever the next person is. That's cool. I'm good with that. He doesn't need to have a belt. He still draws. I don't understand that.
I have a couple gripes from SmackDown in particular. One is this. Dear WWE, why wasn't Buddy Murphy on SmackDown last night? Put him on SmackDown. Let him
Careful with that because
introduce him.
they put Cedric Alexander on Raw and they had him lose.
It's depends on who you fight. You can lose and still win if you have a good match. Now, he didn't necessarily have the greatest match, and he lost. Yeah, that's no good.
It was Cesaro, so I appreciate the fact Cesaro's getting a push.
Yes. No.
And that mindset, though, with the people, the younger ones getting beat, you should getting beat.
Yeah, he took an L too.
I don't know. And then there was other issues I had. One of the big ones was as much as and I haven't been able to say this about many of the Becky promos lately. I love the Becky Charlotte promo. It was just really good. I love them trying to like talk over each other. It felt like they were legitimately pissed off at each other, and maybe they're like tapping into some stuff and like letting that stuff out. And I even liked it when, and I'm going to put in a little asterisk here. I liked it when Bayley came out and her and Charlotte started going at it on the mic. But at the point when they got into the match, I'm like, no. Why Bayley? Why Bayley? Why not Ember Moon? Why is Ember Moon not out there? I really, really didn't like that part of it.
Well, Bayley's going to get
Because
the
they
belt,
could be.
but I feel like maybe Bayley could go up against Charlotte after Charlotte takes one of the belts from Becky. maybe this is Bailey's little push to be a face again on SmackDown, and who better to make her a face than Charlotte, which is probably the best heel they got right now.
Well, if Montreal proved anything, it's that Bailey's really over.
Montreal's bizarro world. You can't count that.
I don't know, man. I think Montreal's pretty accurate because I feel like I go crazy for the same stuff that they go crazy for. And I'm the same way with Bailey. I'm just like, okay, Bailey, whatever. Unless they change your character, I'm not interested in you anymore. Now, granted, I guess I might be that person on this podcast that gets over certain storylines very quickly, though, because like I said last week, like I'm over, Becky Lynch at this point. It's just, I don't know.
I agree. It's it's a situation where I wanted Bailey to get a little more edgy, and she did.
Sure.
On Tuesday night, but ended up being what? Charlotte getting another opportunity.
Another one.
But that is a good story within itself too, right?
But maybe to your point, maybe it should have been two other wrestlers coming out and yelling at Charlotte and them getting the opportunity rather than Charlotte. Because you could have had the same storyline and had like you said, an Ember Moon getting the shot.
I actually 100% think they're literally just going to copy what happened this past week, next week, and then have Charlotte beat Ember Moon. And then it's just like, okay, so you're basically giving Charlotte a shot pretty soon. But then you have like Bailey and Ember Moon are obviously going to be shoo-ins for going in the women's Money in the Bank match.
Does Becky drop a belt?
I hate to say it. I think she drops the SmackDown belt. I don't think it's to Charlotte. I think whoever wins the Money in the Bank cashes in that match.
And that'd be the
to
same.
Make Bailey kind of a heel is to have her run down and cash in the Becky versus Charlotte match for the SmackDown Women's title.
If they take both belts off of Becky,
I don't know if they would give Lacey the belt that quick.
I don't think that's a smart idea.
But to your point, Steven, it doesn't have to be Lacey Evans. It could be whoever wins the Money in the Bank.
Yeah, but
do we even have like a general idea of what this like? That's a little weird with the whole Money in the Bank matches. It's like it's less than a month away, and we're not even talking about it really yet. I mean, they're like setting up set in stone matches, but they're
Monday is going to set it all up.
Yeah.
Liz is going to announce like who's in one of them, right? So she'll announce it.
Are they going to do that? Or are they going to do matches though to qualify for it? Because they've done that before too.
They'll probably announce some, and then maybe they'll do like a final, 6-man match or something, or fatal 4-way to get the last spot in or something. That'd be good for like a guy like Ali or something to fight his way into the match. That'd be a good storyline.
I can't imagine that Ali's not in that match. I mean, he's like made for ladder matches and stuff like that. So, it's like whether or not like you can just pick whoever it's like I almost feel like pick whoever you're going to have win it and then just get the best wrestlers for a ladder match you can and just let it go.
What was the last ladder match we had?
It's been a hot second. Probably TLC, the women's, the last one I can really remember.
That's the only thing I can think of, yeah.
I wonder what they're holding out for. I mean, obviously, Money in the Bank's a big one, but it's like even WrestleMania, we were talking about it, and I was begging for a ladder match to be one of them, but that's
normally a spot match that they have at Mania.
Yeah.
3 women from SmackDown. Let's see. I would have to believe it would be Bailey and Ember Moon, and then who would your third person from SmackDown be?
I'd put Liv Morgan in there.
Well, yeah, I mean, the bump taker, absolutely.
Yeah.
That definitely improves a match. Well, the reason I jump all over Ember Moon and Bailey, because I feel like, well, that seems like your obvious candidates to win from the SmackDown side of it. The Raw side of it could be, it depends on how healthy people are, but you could have Alexa Bliss be in it because she's been in it before and tries to, the whole storyline of trying to, get it again.
That could be what she announces on Raw, is that she's going to be in it.
Yeah.
You got Naomi over there.
maybe Ruby Riott would actually be a really good person to actually win Money in the Bank. That seems like the ultimate right pick to have win Money in the Bank.
Was the right pick before they broke up the Riot Squad?
I still think it's the right pick because I just think Ruby Riott is that wrestler that is kind of like on that precipice of like mid card, top card, and is like the person that logically makes sense. But of course, there you go, logical. Don't use logic, but logically the best person to win it, like being like the heel that would cash in. That's not too obviously. Obviously like. Alexa Bliss is very much that type of a heel, like needing to cash in type of a wrestler.
Yeah, but we made the same argument last year for the guys, right? We made the same argument for the guys last year on who should win, who was a good fit to win, and then Braun Strowman walks out of it, and it's a waste.
Yeah. Hey, have you ever noticed how Braun Strowman ruins like every fucking thing ever? I mean, really, like there's so
what?
I
what
like
ruin?
And I like Braun Strowman. That's not the problem. That's not the issue. But like all of his matches, like all of his major matches at pay-per-view are just god awful in my opinion, because they're always like filled with like shticks, or like they don't make any sense from that standpoint. Like, so that Money in the Bank thing makes no sense because it's Braun Strowman. Like, why the hell does he need a briefcase? And then he uses it to claim a match, and I like the way he used it, right? It's not that he's necessarily cashing in. It's more like, okay, I'm using it and then I'm getting my opportunity later on. But for him then not to win, like, but he's been so misused that I just like, I'm not digging anything with him anymore, because I'm just like, no, it's the same thing. I'm gonna see that running power slam or whatever. I'm gonna see him run around and like shoulder people to the ground, and then he's still not gonna win anything. So what's the point?
So who goes into the men's Money in the Bank match then?
Well, I think that he nailed it with Ali. I don't see how you don't put somebody like Mustafa Ali. Now, I would love for Bray Wyatt to actually come back to do that, and obviously we've seen him again, so it's a possibility. I think that Sami Zayn would be a good candidate to go into a ladder match like that. If you want a couple people who could take some bumps, you maybe could throw EC3 in there. He can take a few bumps. I think he proved that.
Xavier Woods.
Yeah. Oh God, Xavier Woods. I'd love for him to win it. He would be such a good person to win it, especially with Kofi holding the belt.
That would be a big curveball if he turned on Kofi. Unless
you move him. Unless they're moving him to Raw.
Well, yeah, this is so. It's almost like, so Big E's out, and Big O. and now Xavier got that power bomb onto the apron, and he was screaming death pain on the ground there. I'm wondering if they're setting something up where Kofi's going to be on his own. Maybe Xavier takes time away, or maybe they move Xavier over to Raw. Maybe they do something really abrupt and split the New Day up while Big E's hurt together when he's able to come back. It seemed like there was a little bit of foreshadowing going on Tuesday night that possibly could mean the end of New Day for a little bit. You got to put Ricochet in that ladder match. You got to put Ricochet in that ladder match.
100%. And I don't think they have to do this, but it would be an easy way to get Cedric Alexander over if you put him in that match. Not to win, just to put him in the match. Just to do a couple crazy things in that match.
You could probably make the same argument for Buddy Murphy.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you mentioned Bray. So we have to talk about Bray and the Firefly Funhouse.
Oh, so good.
So it's this twist of Pee-wee's Playhouse, Mr. Rogers, this dark cult, which is just it's just outstanding, and he does the character so well. I hope, and I know we've tried to do this so many different ways, but I hope they almost bring other to his Firefly Funhouse. I know he's got the puppets now, but he needs to have actual guests like Pee-wee's Playhouse. I was talking about like how Phil Hartman came in as the fisherman, but you could bring in Bo Dallas. You know, maybe you can bring in Eric Young. Maybe you can bring in a Nikki Cross. He could build another family now inside this cult, and it could be amazing. It really could. I'm hoping at least. It looks like it's going to be something interesting. And he played that dark character so well, his old character. This one's going to be, you know, almost a play on that, but a little more, I dare I say, kid friendly.
I mean, it's creepy. I mean, it's good stuff though. I mean, I thought it was amazing. It wasn't quite him bringing out, you know, a puppet on his hand or something like that. But that being said,
Glad I was
like,
wrong. Yeah.
but it wasn't too far off either. You know what I mean? It was like, yeah, he's, you know, he's talking to puppets. Now how you then take that and put it in a ring or put it on the main stage, like the upper stage or whatever, it's going to be a little tricky. Or maybe you just leave those spots for like promo packages or whatever for the big screen. But I don't know. I'm excited. I'm interested. And if it's going to turn into like a happy cult thing, like, oh, you know, we are the overly happy cult, I would just hope that maybe, and this is me trying to write for them, you have all these puppet characters, and these puppet characters are transformed into wrestlers when he wants them to be. And so you have different wrestlers that are playing different parts from the show, basically. Could be interesting. You know, it's a way to create a stable, an interesting stable. You know, that basically, like, you know, so Mercy the Buzzard is a character on Firefly Funhouse, but also there is, you know, this wrestler who is basically playing that character in the ring, even though he's not dressed up to necessarily like a bird, but you know what I mean. It's like
Yeah.
I think that would be
Yeah,
an interesting
that
way
makes a lot of
taking it.
sense.
It also made sense for them to show what Sue's sister Abigail was and actually have it be somebody, and that didn't go anywhere.
Well, I don't know.
What did they call it? What was she? What's the female puppet called? Something witch or something like that? I couldn't. It was so quickly, audio wise, I wasn't able to pick it up.
Let me look it up real quick.
Something witch. I don't know. Like, I mean, like to your point, Jimmy, that could be like a Nikki Cross, and the other Mercy could be like an Eric Young, and there you go. There's your guys who pretend to be those characters.
Abby the Witch.
Be the witch, Abby. Who could be Abby? What's that? Abby.
Abigail.
Oh,
Abby.
well, that's just easy.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, yeah, but it's just a play off of something that they've already put time into, I guess. So they're not totally throwing it away, but yeah, I mean, it was, man, when he took that little mini chainsaw to his cardboard cutout, it's like, oh my God, he's losing his mind.
I'm just glad they stuck with it. I guess there was a bit of a rumor out there that some of the big stockholders and some of their big sponsors didn't like the idea of a cult that was towards children. Had a big problem with it Monday night when they first aired it, and luckily WWE said we're going to go with it because they aired it in entirety on Tuesday night again, right? There was no difference between the one they aired Monday and the one they aired Tuesday. There was a little bit of a scare there that they could have been dead in the water before it even happened.
It's early though, you know. They've only played it twice. They've played things a lot more than that and dropped it.
I would suck. It's so good, and I want them to be edgy. And this could be really, really good promos for him. And he doesn't have to wrestle. Like, he could come out and just do this. He could do this whole thing live as almost like Miz TV or the KO show or whatever. Like, he could have his own little thing in the ring where he acts crazy in the ring for a while and never wrestles. It'd be great.
Who's the rabbit?
Met the rabbit yet? Have we?
We haven't met the rabbit yet, but the Firefly Funhouse like logo, it's got a buzzard, it's got Abby the Witch, and then it's got a rabbit. And I'm not sure what the rabbit is.
Name for the rabbit.
Oh, we don't need to come up with a name for the rabbit.
Oh man.
I
Okay.
don't know. Who would you have play Abby the Witch?
Why do
If
you
that
why do
if
you go
that's
with
a
the rabbit?
thing.
Well, just because she looks like Paige doesn't mean it's to be Paige. Um, with Nikki Cross. I mean, Nikki Cross was great in a faction with the guys, and she's such a smaller wrestler that you've said it before. She kind of needs that, and I think Nikki Cross would be great.
Makes sense.
Maybe. Cutter Bailey.
Oh, you were just looking for an opportunity to say Cutter Bailey.
That's right. That's right. Maybe that's the name of the rabbit, Cutter Bailey. Hey, by the way, Chris, it's been pretty much a week since we last recorded, and the Bailey to Belly is still the worst finisher in all of wrestling. Just thought I'd let you know that.
I know every time you text how bad it is, but still wins matches apparently.
Oh, sad. Well, I don't know. Didn't win her a match yesterday, did it?
She didn't do a Bailey to Belly last
she
Tuesday.
not?
No, she did it was like a back
Dude.
drop or something, like a suplex.
Bailey to backdrop. Just roll with that. I would like it a lot more if everything was just a Bailey to whatever.
So I was gonna point out some of like the sloppiness that's been going on the last few live shows, the last few taped like TV shows. We didn't touch on at all. Did you guys notice that the ref screwed up Guild's last final chapter where Finn rolled up Elias and the ref went to count to 3, moved, and the ref stopped and kind of looked up and looked around and Finn had to have to do a secondary roll up to win the match.
I don't know.
Really sloppy. And okay, I got another one. Okay, it's a house show that was aired on the network, and then did you see Lacey Evans's women's right to Becky?
Which one? The first one?
The first one to Becky when Becky had Alicia Fox in the disarmer nowhere, and she punches and she gives her the women's right. If you go watch that clip, anybody who's listening, go watch that clip and see how terrible that spot was. She goes to punch her, and Becky's head goes the opposite direction. She pauses for a second and kind of like to look like I just got punched. So now I'm going to slowly crumble to the ground. Like it was really bad. Luckily, they kind of redid it, right? She got up and gave her another one.
It's an interesting name.
There's been a lot of botches lately.
It's an interesting name for a move, especially with her going up against the man. Like I like all those the play on words with all that stuff, where she goes out there and she's like, "I'm gonna teach a man, about a woman's right" or something like that. It's like, oh, it's an interesting little play on, political ideas and stuff like that.
Is it though?
Is the man gimmick still working?
I mean, obviously not for me. I don't know. Is it still working for you two? I mean, you guys can answer probably that better than I can.
Becky's working for me.
Okay. Apart from you being infatuated with Becky, is Becky's thing working for you?
Yeah.
What about Kofi?
I think Kofi's is fine. But I think I feel, and I think I've said this, I feel like Becky's getting a little Mick Foley-esque, a little bit too much comedy and ring than what she was. I mean, obviously, when she came out and got her face broken, that was, the top. And I feel like it's been a slow descent, unfortunately, and now it's comical than hard ass, right? Like even you said you enjoyed the back and forth with her and Charlotte. I didn't. I kind of thought it was sloppy. Them talking over each other was kind of just bickering, and I've seen it before. I've heard it before. It wasn't entertaining to me. I feel like we're just going back and recycling the same storyline, to be honest, with those two, and
But the reason it didn't feel like a
over it.
recycle, the reason it didn't feel like a recycle to me was that the content of the bickering was exactly that. Her complaining about why are we doing this again? Like, I'm sick of it. So I like the kind of the meta-ness of it. It makes it better writing than if they just went out there and bickered about something else. Does that make sense?
I know I know where you're coming from. I just it didn't work for me. I feel like I'd rather see Becky start a program someplace else. I feel like I want to see Charlotte start a program someplace else. I'd rather see Charlotte and Bailey have a program. That'd be more entertaining to me right now than seeing the same program we've seen. And yeah, I understand like what you're saying. It's the whole idea of why does Becky have to keep going through this again? Why does she always have to shut Charlotte up? Or Charlotte 2.0, Lacey Evans.
Well, yeah. I mean, she's
I think
having
this
to
is because
go
they
through
don't want
loss.
to have her on both shows. They don't want to have to keep one woman with both titles, so they're going to try to take one from her. And they want to work on the storyline with her and Lacey Evans to where the one with Charlotte's already there, basically, so they can just together because they've already done it 100 times.
I have a tendency to agree with you, Chris, in the fact that, I had an issue with the Bailey Charlotte thing in regards to the Becky match, but I think that would be a good program if it had nothing to do with Becky at all. Just a program between the two of those. And have somebody else have a program with Becky on SmackDown. Be it what it really should be probably Asuka, but since it's not Asuka because she's in a tag team, it should be Ember Moon.
Big surprise.
Big surprise what? That I said
She
Ember
said
Moon?
Ember
No.
Moon.
Did you just listen to what I said? I said it should be Asuka.
Yeah, it's not going to be Asuka because Asuka's in a tag team now.
I know. It's an issue. It's a stupid thing that she's in the tag team. And honestly, when they were walking down to the ring for her solo match and Asuka had the spyglass, I'm like, WWE, you need to fucking stop what you're doing right now. You're going to ruin Asuka.
Pirate, just like Kyrie's saying. They're both pirates.
Oh,
Asuka's not ready for Asuka.
Vince isn't ready for Asuka, apparently. Never
So
is.
I like, I know how we always kind of do this, and I'm going to do it again. These Becky 2 belts wrong. Becky should be defending it against Lacey Evans at Money in the Bank. That's it. They should have the Money in the Bank match. That's it. The winner of the Money in the Bank match should happen before Becky's match. Out in the middle of the Lacey Evans match. Get into the match for just the SmackDown title. Cash in, win the SmackDown title, but the match has to continue because only one title is gone.
Yeah, it's
rather see that than Becky fight twice. Becky should have fought twice a pay-per-view or two ago, if that was going to be the case. Like, let Becky go up for both belts or something. See that previously, not now. Now it's, I get it. I see what they're doing. They're trying to make her a quote-unquote fighting champion, but belt offer already and just move on. This whole unification of the belts that didn't actually happen is silly at this point.
Yeah.
Well, it's just typical, like, oh, look, the writers are kind of losing their way. They're not sure what they're doing, playing it week to week.
Women's division is going backwards. I said it in a text message. The women's division is going backwards. How long was that match that Naomi had?
I agree. In regards to matches like that, I don't know that a short match means that a division goes backwards. It's just that a certain type of short match makes a women's match go backwards.
How many tag title defenses have we seen since the tag titles have changed?
The Iconics don't defend their titles, though. That's almost part of the gimmick.
How many times has Becky defended her title since she's won the titles at WrestleMania?
Now that's unacceptable.
She's got 2 titles and she's not defending either one of them. I'm telling you.
That's unacceptable.
The unification of the belts and taking those belts and putting them on the heel tags those two steps right there have put the division backwards.
No, I can't agree with you on the tag team.
That's fine. You're wrong.
Other than the first SmackDown or Raw after WrestleMania, when would have been a good time for them to defend it? There's not been a pay-per-view or anything.
The tag champs?
Yeah.
They have defended it once. They defended it against jobbers in one of the cities.
Yeah, like
which
if
was
you're
fine.
the tag
I like
champ,
that. I think it's funny. It's part of the story.
they're technically on both shows, right? They're allowed to go on either show.
Yeah.
They have been on both shows.
As the tag champ?
Yeah, they have been on both shows too, I believe.
That's 4 shows they could have defended the titles on, and you said one was jobbers.
Again, it's part of the story. I understand where you're coming from with Becky, and I think that makes a lot of sense that Becky should have defended it by now. The only thing I can say about the Iconics is they maybe should have done it one more time. Same thing, a couple episodes later, like if you did it on the Raw or whatever, then of the 4 shows or something, of those 2 weeks, maybe on SmackDown the next week, you have them defend it against jobbers again, and basically be like, no, we're never going to defend it against legitimate people. We're just going to hold it and be ridiculous. But I like that as a story.
Well, they keep having singles matches and getting squashed. They're having matches, they're having singles matches, and they're lasting all of 2 minutes.
Which again, I think is actually good for the story there. Just because it's not working for you. I mean, it's working for me personally, because I like the fact that they're just those types of heels. They'll do anything to win their match. They'll cheat if they have to.
They're not winning.
But they're not. But it doesn't matter if they don't win a match if it's not for the titles. Again, winning and losing means absolutely, in my realm of wrestling, means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, because to your point, it's done really good things for the Revival with all those losses they got, right? I mean, they've been a really strong tag team, and their storyline's gone really far because of all those losses, even though they kept the belts, right?
We talked about this. The mainstream fan does not like the Revival because they're old school type style wrestlers. That's the only thing that's hurt the Revival. That's
but am I wrong in saying that the Iconics are?
That's why they have them lose so much.
Following the same exact storyline the Revival had.
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, I don't know that the Revival wasn't coming out and facing jobbers.
No, the Revival was going out and having matches against the Lucha House Party.
Lucha.
Or they were having matches against Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, and they were losing matches.
Or Aleister Black and Ricochet.
They were losing matches.
Again, why does it matter? They weren't lose. They were in matches, and part of the shtick there was that they would lose the match, and then all of a sudden they would go over and they would grab their belts and they would be holding them up and stuff, because it didn't matter that they lost, because they were still the tag champions.
The tag championship has more meaning right now.
It's again, I just don't know. I just don't know that I agree with the fact that, of this whole meaning thing. It's like you just need to be open to different styles of champions.
Okay.
It makes the
Put the
whole
belt back on
show-
Brock Lesnar then. Let's put the belt back on Brock Lesnar.
That's different. It's different from if you're
No, it's not. That's
facing.
the same.
No, it's not different. It's different because they're having matches. Brock Lesnar was not. Brock Lesnar was never
We just
fighting.
said they're not having matches. We just said they were not having matches.
We're talking about the Revival?
Oh, we're going back to I'm saying my original argument with the women's titles. They're not having matches.
They're having singles matches. Is that different? They can still have singles matches. They don't have to have tag team matches to build their characters. They're trying to emphasize how traditionally heely these women are.
That's not a word.
Okay.
Hey, we disagree, and I love that we disagree because it's more fun to disagree.
Of course. Of course. It does not work for you. It works for me.
Yeah. Steven, what's working for you? I'm tired of arguing with Jimmy.
That's big baby Jimmy.
Y'all's banter has been glorious, to put it in a single word.
Is it glorious with an epic stash?
With the epic 80s porn stash.
So good. Like honestly, like I thought Bray Wyatt was the one I was most excited about. I'm really more excited about Robert Roode and that stash. That thing's amazing.
Well, but not to get off
Hopefully
topic too
they actually
much.
give him a push. They push him as the heel he's good at. Because it
Beat
would be amazing.
Ricochet. Man, it's huge.
Yeah, I mean Ricochet's pretty over. Yeah. I like that Aleister Black promo that they put on SmackDown. It was interesting. It was very telling.
Definitely's got like that dark side to him that I don't know that it's all the way Undertaker or even all the way Bray Wyatt, but I think it's a strong enough character that it could be pretty good. And if he does some good promos like that, I mean, which is funny because I remember we used to talk about him and how terrible his promos were when he first started getting the mic in NXT. So he's come a long way.
He's also gotten way better as a wrestler, just generally speaking.
Yeah.
I am still interested in Steven, though. Like, not to go back to when me and him are going back and forth. Like, are the Iconics working for you? Are they not working for you? What the women's division in general, like when we're speaking about whether or not, the way that they're handling the singles titles or the tag titles, is that working or not working for you?
They're playing their gimmick. I can't fault them for that. It seems to be the way that the tag division has been going for the men too, where like he was pointing out with the Revival, the champions lose and they lose and they lose, and then they can retain their titles, and then they lose and they lose and they lose. It's stupid, but they're doing their gimmick, they're doing a job, and showing up every week. It's not like Brock, who was never showing up. They're showing up every week.
I think for me, the more unforgivable thing is always if you have champions that do not fight at all. And because wrestlers not being over enough is the reasoning for that is never a good reason in my book. So you've put the titles on Hawkins and Ryder, and when you don't have them fight in an episode, that is not a good thing. They should be fighting somebody. Somebody should be fighting somebody. And when they don't, it's like, okay, well then why are the titles on you? Because then that is Brock Lesnar. That's like, not even a single match. Like maybe one promo. Oh, you just saw the Viking Raiders. What did you think about them? And they. Oh
Who?
well, yeah. Oh, it's not the Viking Experience anymore. Now the Viking Experience is their finisher. Which actually, I like the name of that. That calling their finisher the Viking Experience makes a lot of sense. The Viking Raiders. I'm sure I'll get used to it. I hope I get used to it. Who knows?
Well, we had the same argument when it was War Machine when it went to War Raiders. So
Yeah.
I think we can handle Viking Raiders.
Well, it's funny because when they changed that name again, it was like, Viking Raiders. Okay. The only thing I didn't like about them changing it was because I thought it was kind of funny. And I think everybody was enjoying the meme of the Viking Experience, and now they're like, no, we don't want people to be memeing so much, with the name, so we're gonna change it. It's like, let us have our fun. We're the fans. We make things fun sometimes when they're not fun.
I was ranting so much about that last week, and I don't know that I finally got my ultimate point across. That why are they heels? The team that was so over in NXT have to come up as heels. Like, why do they immediately make those kind of changes when they bring them up to the main roster? You get so over as a character on the developmental show, and they bring you up and they immediately switch you to something you're not. You built a character, you built promos, you built a fan base, and then they switch you to heels. I think that's what frustrated me the most about last week. The name was stupid, and then realizing that they were heels or supposed to be heels was like, really? And they did it again this week, and I think that's what hammered it home for me this week was, oh, they really expect us to believe that they're a heel now. Whatever, I'll get there, but what happened to the face team? It's the opposite situation with Robert Roode when he first came up, right? He was a huge heel in NXT, and they brought him up as a face. change what's working. I don't just to fit your current storyline that needs another heel tag team.
You know, hearing you say Bobby and then changing it to Robert made me think of Corey Graves and how on point he was this week.
Oh, he was on a roll.
He normally is.
He was all over Michael Cole. Michael Cole goes, Bobby Roode, and he goes, who's Bobby?
He was also all over him on SmackDown because they kept going over to the New Day announcers. And he kept saying, if you keep going to those New Day announcers when I have a thought, I'm going to punch you in the face. Graves is great. I'm glad we have him. You know, I think he, even on a boring night of wrestling, I feel like I can be entertained by Corey Graves.
I'll give you that.
And
well, what else was...
how often do we send a text message through the chat that just says
Graves
or
yeah.
Graves LOL? You know, like he has those moments where he can just take a 5-second little, make it just gold.
Well, he had the thing in the Robert Roode section where he was like, you know, all the women are, you know, gonna conceive, are about to start conceiving children. It's like I just, you know, I love how dedicated to his heel loving he is. So if anybody's a heel, he's just automatically rooting for them, and you know, I've always enjoyed that. Even to the point where it's like, you know, you're not even making logical sense. Corey Graves, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The heel's better.
So, finally beat up somebody and ended up having to beat up an old guy because about Carmella being us up into some Lars Sullivan R-Truth match where Carmella switches sides. Is that possible? Like it seems like a little foreshadowing.
I don't know. I don't know that. I mean,
needs a valet. We agree on that.
Is Carmella really the best valet though? Yeah.
Is anybody not better than him?
Not better than him?
Yeah, like give me somebody who would be his valet that wouldn't be a better situation than his current situation of.
I don't know. If you brought the great Khali to be his valet. No, I get where you're coming from. Lars Sullivan. Oh, they've begun the force job. You know, let's just start forcing him down everybody's throat, and it's okay. I mean, they want him to be a heel, and they want him to be a heel that everybody boos. And if everybody doesn't like him and they boo when he's out there, then he's kind of being successful in a way, in a manner. But
who's the biggest face on SmackDown to get him over as a heel? Like who could right now get the crowd to just be all over him?
If you really want
besides
to
Kofi, besides Kofi,
get him to destroy Becky Lynch. Hey, you asked me. I answered.
Okay. So who's the best person that WWE will allow? Finn Balor's not a bad one. That's a good one. That was pretty good. I'm trying to think who else is on SmackDown that
Kofi,
is that over.
Kofi's,
Kofi's, yeah, he's way over, but you can't do Kofi because then you're just giving him a straight run for the belt.
Because I feel like they fall into something with Roman Reigns. It's going to turn into whole Braun Strowman again, where Braun Strowman was so over because everybody hated Roman Reigns.
I mean,
Kofi.
No, I'm gonna double down on Kofi because you could just continue that. You continue the Vince story where like somehow Vince is behind the Freak, and he's out there just to destroy Kofi Kingston for Vince.
It was me, Kofi. It was me all along. The whole Austin angle.
If you take the belts If you take the belt off of him, I'm okay with it. I don't like the idea of Lars getting for the belt that quickly. It's the same thing with Lacey Evans. Like I like Lacey Evans. Like I think she's a great character, but to give her the belt this quickly, too soon.
True.
I mean, they've done crazier things, though. That's for sure.
Yeah.
How about you being wrong? And you know what? I went to bed thinking that
Whoa.
you were going to be
Whoa.
right. By the way, about
Baron Corbin.
Baron
Yeah.
Corbin. Yeah, we thought for sure Baron Corbin was gonna.
I was surprised. This is a big match. I mean, letting AJ Styles and Seth Rollins have a match, that's a huge match. It's going to be great. I just didn't think they would do it this quickly for Money in the Bank. So I thought for sure it was going to be, some cheap way that Baron Corbin would win. And I went to bed early, texting everybody, "Yep, it's going to be Corbin. I'm going to bed." And I wake up and there's AJ Styles winning the match. So yeah, I was dead wrong. I'm excited for the match. I don't know that it's the right storyline. I would probably prefer letting Rollins have a few warm-up matches before the bigger pay-per-views. But to your point, Jimmy, you always call Money in the Bank one of the bigger pay-per-views now. So I guess they're pushing it that way.
Well, the thing that makes Money in the Bank such a great pay-per-view is not just the whole kind of almost like Royal Rumble type of a feel where it's like, okay, somebody's going to win, and historically, even though you have more like people not being able to cash in successfully over the past few years, but that there's then a chance. You're like, oh yeah, this person could definitely get it now. But on top of that, everybody loves ladder matches, and it's just always can be a great ladder match.
They have the right people in it. I mean, ultimately,
I think they traditionally have over the last couple ones. They've had the right people in it. I mean, they like to put KO in those ladder matches because he takes good bumps. Now, it doesn't seem like they're going to be doing that this time, but you've got other people that can take good bumps, people that have proven that they can. EC3, Ricochet, Buddy Murphy can do it. Ali can do it. They've got the people with the pedigree of taking great bumps. To Steven's point, Xavier Woods can take some pretty good bumps.
Yeah. Where's
Who's that?
Where's Randy Orton right now?
It doesn't really matter. The world's better with him sitting on the shelf for a while.
Matches with Roman Reigns.
I just expected him to be right back on TV after the shakeup, and for him not to be anywhere to be seen right now. Is he going to show up on Raw? Because it's apparently still ongoing, this whole superstar shakeup. They just decided, you know what, we'll just start it in Montreal and just continue it for the next 4 weeks. We'll just move guys around whenever we feel like it.
I think after the whole Elias and Shane thing, he's going to have a feud with Roman going into the title picture.
What do you think of that, man? Like, why Shane and Elias? Why does Elias need Shane?
Yeah, because they're just going to throw Elias in the IC picture. They're not going to let him be a main card fixture yet.
I don't get why Shane had to be Elias's talking piece, and they could have easily just had Shane Elias to jump Roman Reigns, but to have it continue in the back in the promo and then go away in the limo, it's like, why is Shane and Elias forces? I just don't understand that. I think it's a little forced and a little unnecessary because Elias is fine on his own and vice versa. Shane's fine on his own.
It's really a travesty about Elias is that everybody always interrupts him. Let the man finish his songs. Some of them are really good. Some of them are really funny.
Some of them are a little rougher.
Some of them are a little rougher, yes.
Ones, but then sometimes it's like, all right, maybe this is the one they should have interrupted. It'll be decent to see him and Roman, but I'm just curious to how Shane's going to mix into that after they kind of just abruptly ended the whole Miz Shane going to show up on Raw anymore? Is he going to stay on SmackDown? I guess he could jump back and forth still, right?
Yeah, that doesn't seem totally out of the realm of possibility. That's for sure. And I think that would be good. I mean, I that feud could definitely continue to go a little bit further. It's just a matter of how beat up was Shane, and is he willing to, fight again too soon afterwards.
So, did Braun Strowman show up Monday night?
I didn't see him.
So he completely didn't make TV. Like, he's been on TV consistently every single Raw for a while now. And they had this huge match to be, the new number one contender for the Universal title, and Braun Strowman's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, if anything, maybe Joe should have been set up to win that three-way match, and then, because it's a three-way match, there's no disqualification, and Braun Strowman comes in and screws Joe over.
It seemed interesting. Like, you would expect Braun Strowman to be somewhere in that conversation. Completely didn't put him in there. So I wonder if he's on the good side, the bad side. It's just interesting how long we've been talking about Braun Strowman and how much we were expecting a push for him, and he's just never gotten it.
He's gotten, I don't know. I would say he's gotten his pushes without the finishes of the pushes, right? So he's gotten some epic pushes, and then they really didn't amount to anything. Well, for that matter, to counter that point of yours, where's Daniel Bryan?
Apparently he's hurt, right?
Is Braun Strowman hurt?
I don't think so.
Where is Fandango? This is my new thing I'm going to ask at every podcast until I see Fandango. Where are you, Fandango? Are you going to join are you the bunny? Are you the bunny, Fandango? Fandango the bunny? Are you part of the Firefly Funhouse?
Oh, good God.
Pretty interesting. I could see Fandango coming in like the whole Pee-wee's Playhouse thing where he would like walk in.
Like he's
Walking
a mailman or something? Oh my God. It'd be
Oh
great.
my, yes, that would be amazing.
It would
Fandango
be
the mailman.
spectacular.
Like, I'm sure they can take this so many different ways, but I don't know. I know I'm begging for it because I keep saying it, but I really want them to do the Pee-wee's Playhouse thing. And just play these characters out.
Word of the day.
What was the saying that he I repeated it today.
Yowie wowie. Was that it?
That's it. Yowie wowie.
You're like, I want a shirt that says Yowie wowie.
That's it. That's all I wanted to say. Yowie wowie.
Chuck listens to this podcast, right?
Yes, he does. Chuck definitely listens.
Did you know that Chuck's favorite wrestler is Baron Corbin?
Yeah, he's a big fan.
Yeah.
He's president of the Baron Corbin fan club.
He really wants a Baron Corbin T-shirt.
Yeah.
I also hear. So I think we're gonna have to do that. It's kind of like Steven is the president of the Boss Club.
He's the Boss Club president and the only member at this point because there's no boss right now.
This is true. Yeah. And the boss could actually be used quite well on Raw. They could use her on Raw.
Well, she's just got to get over herself before that can happen.
Whoa. How do you know it's not a work? Thank you very much. Just like the Dean Ambrose work.
Just like my 2 drinks.
Yeah, you got a drink to clink around this time?
No, I'm out right now. It's empty right here.
Yeah.
Empty. Can't clink. No clinky, but the drinks are still coming.
All right, they ain't coming yet. Not until the fat lady sings.
Date on that. What's the date? Like, what has to happen? Does he have to show up someplace else? Does it have to go past a certain date? Because I need to know when I'm getting my drinks.
Is he done right now? Like, what was the actual date that he was contractually done? Was it the final Shield?
Final. I don't know. I'd have to look it up, I think. Steven, do you know?
Nah, I thought it was April 1st, but I'm not sure.
Nah, I
Yeah,
don't.
it couldn't have been April 1st, right?
Nah,
He
he's
just
because
wrestled.
he's been
Like I
wrestling.
think his contract was up April 1st, but he still had some dates to make up from being out when he was injured. 100%.
I was thinking they were CM punking him, like have him leave, building up to the fact that he was leaving, and then right when everybody's comfortable, you suddenly hear new music and you go, "Whose music is that?" And then out comes Dean Ambrose.
He could be the bunny.
Oh
What
God.
was that, Steven?
Just
What was that?
just forget the bunny.
Everyone's the bunny.
Bailey the bunny, who also cutter.
Oh, there it was again. I don't know, man. It's just I want to see what the end is for Dean. It being up and everything now. I mean, I know there's been talk about him not even wrestling. Like he's gonna take some time, not do anything,
Yeah,
not even come back and wrestle at all.
maybe he just wants to retire, and wrestling's just been a little bit too difficult on him.
How amazing was his final promo?
I mean, I don't know I would use the word amazing. It was good. I don't know that
What?
amazing is the word.
You didn't want to run through a wall after he had cut that promo?
Not really, no.
Uh,
But again, I think we've clarified. Me and you are definitely on different wavelengths, especially today.
yeah, I'm on that right wavelength, and you're on that wrong one, way over there.
Yeah, that's why the last couple times we've done picks, I've been number one. Because I don't know
Number
because
one.
I don't know anything. I'm wrong about all my wrestling ideas.
Ever. Tying scripted wrestling picks is great. Good job.
Okay, I mean you do the same picks, right? So
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
job good job to you.
Ladies, let's not get, in a pissing contest.
I can clearly piss farther. I'm just letting you know that right now. Oh man.
Argue that.
What are your? You know what? Let's just randomly talk about some other topic. Like I don't know. Like Chris, who's your favorite wrestler of all time?
That would be the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, hands down. Yeah, it's not even a question. He's the greatest all around there's ever been.
It's not Hogan?
Hogan was an amazing put together by Vince McMahon and what's his name, Terry Bollea or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was perfect for the time. It got over amazingly, but he couldn't wrestle. Three promos that he just kept recycling and kept cutting. The leg drop is worse than the belly to belly, and I know you'll agree with that.
Yes, this is accurate.
There's one thing about Hogan that I will always still get excited about, and it's his damn entrance music, Real American. Like I'm not gonna lie, get goosebumps and get excited every time I hear that damn music.
Because you're a real American, and you fight for the rights of every man.
Hogan is the popular thing to say if you know wrestling because everybody knows Hulk Hogan, everybody knows Ric Flair, everybody knows The Undertaker.
Hogan is not the popular thing to say if you know wrestling. It's if you don't know wrestling.
If someone says, "Hey, who's your favorite wrestler?" and you don't watch wrestling, you'll probably be like, "I don't know, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant."
You remember when we used to have those like conversations at work and Kevin was like, "How do you not have Hulk Hogan as one of the top wrestlers of all time?" It's like, why would you? He's awful.
Because the character was bigger and more I don't want to say popular, bigger and more sellable. I don't know what the word is, but basically they created a character that was so over that people ignored the fact that it was bad. It wasn't good enough. I mean, Ric Flair all around is so much better than Hulk Hogan.
Oh yeah.
Ric Flair should have the accolades plus a million of Hulk Hogan. What they built in WWF, Hulk Hogan is a bigger name.
Truth. Steven, who's your favorite wrestler of all time?
It's really close between Shawn Michaels and Sting.
Well, for the purposes of this podcast, since he already said Shawn Michaels, we're going to say that you said Sting. What do you like so much about Sting?
I don't know. I always, even back in his Surfer days, I don't know what it was. The way he just connected with the fans. He was
definitely like,
he doesn't have the same charisma as Shawn Michaels, but he could deliver. He was.
I don't know, man. He was pretty charismatic. It's a different type.
He's never been as charismatic as Shawn Michaels.
It's a different type of charisma.
But and then whenever he disappeared and he came back in the rafters, it was just like he invented himself and only got bigger.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but the only time that I really liked to go back to Hulk Hogan, the only time I really kind of liked Hulk Hogan was when he reinvented himself as Hollywood Hogan. That was good stuff.
Yeah.
But I could definitely agree with you. I think Sting's great. Really, really like him a lot. I think Shawn Michaels is great. Shawn Michaels is not somebody, and I know this is controversial maybe to you guys. I don't know that it's somebody that I would put in my personal top 4, like on my Mount Rushmore, but he's definitely up there. He's been a part of probably more important great matches than any other wrestler you can think of. Sting is just like, I think, man, Sting's up there. He's pretty close too. He's epic.
Who's yours? Who's your big honcho?
It's between 3. It was either Kurt Angle, Mick Foley, or the Gobbledygooker, and I think I have to go with Mick Foley. Mick Foley, and this is me, like, if anybody that listening were to personally sit down and talk, wrestling, and we just like gush over like what we love about wrestling so much, you'll learn very quickly that I love hardcore wrestling. And I like, those old school guys that were willing to sacrifice their bodies, like these guys that, were they the most technically great wrestlers? No. Did they have all the charisma in the world? No. But they were willing to put their body through hell and back to get themselves over. And there are a couple hardcore guys that are like that through and through, and Mick Foley is definitely one of them. Had so many different characters. I really, enjoyed all the Cactus Jack stuff that he did in ECW. And obviously, Mankind was a very important character when I was growing up and watching wrestling. And yeah, I mean, everybody always talks about, that King of the Ring match that he was in with Undertaker, and you watch that match, and I know I've gotten in arguments about this match with Chris, and I have to agree with him. It's like Undertaker doesn't do anything in that match. Mankind
got a broken foot.
Yeah, Mankind just goes out there and just murders himself to get the match over, and it's just it's just an incredible match. And I just like wrestlers that are like that. I like wrestlers that are ready to just take it over the edge. So any of these guys that have any experience like wrestling in ECW or wrestling just like hardcore type indie matches, like I get mucho respect for those type of guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to your point, I mean, think about how much Foley was willing to put over the Undertaker in that match, because the Undertaker couldn't do anything because he had a broken foot, and Foley was like, whatever it takes to make this match get over. Whatever work I have to do.
How many people did he do that for? He did that for tons and tons and tons
Exactly.
of wrestlers.
Exactly.
And it leads to, like, when you do that, like, wrestling fans can respect that, because it leads to some of the biggest pops of all time when those guys actually finally win one. So you look at, Mick Foley winning the title is one of the biggest pops ever in WWF, I think, at the time. And that
was what blows to WCW too, because they would always announce it.
Yeah.
And when they did, everybody flipped channels to see Mick Foley win it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Bischoff made the biggest mistake ever by announcing that they were going to have Mick Foley win the title.
Absolutely.
And looked, I remember that. I remember doing that. I remember flipping that channel to go see him win.
Yeah, and the same thing happened in ECW with Tommy Dreamer. He lost and he lost and he lost and he lost, and then finally he won. And when he won, people went absolutely crazy. But then he lost it, of course, right away. But that was he enjoyed that. That's what he wanted. He never wanted to win, obviously. I like wrestlers like that, man. I love Tommy Dreamer. I think he's great.
It's kind of like Kurt Hawkins, right? Kurt Hawkins, Kurt Hawkins, I'm sure, was in the back fighting to not win still. Maybe WrestleMania, maybe he was like, all right, cool. That's a big cool spot. But Hawkins loved his losing streak. It was a great gimmick. He was all over it.
I agree with that.
And,
sometimes
they know.
The only thing that's a little bit different is he's not always out there getting people over. Like, he would go weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks without even being on the show, and then randomly here he has a match where he's just going to, get crushed by Braun Strowman. Like, thinking, oh, I'm coming out, I'm finally going to win a match, and here comes Braun Strowman. Nope, you're not.
There we go, back to Braun Strowman again.
Misused. Like, so Kurt Hawkins is a little bit misused. I prefer the whole, like, the losing wrestler that puts the other wrestler through hell and back and makes them earn the respect, like the way that Foley did it with Randy Orton. Like, he had to go through the gauntlet with Randy Orton. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can say the same thing about Foley and Edge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good matches too.
Who's a wrestler that you absolutely hate, Chris?
I feel like we've had this conversation, and I forget who I said already. I mean, it's going to be something I'm going to have to think about. I still go to Cass at this point.
Big Cass.
About how much
Maybe you should do a more controversial one. You've thrown a lot of hate at Undertaker before.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
In previous conversations, and I'd like you to explain what's wrong with Undertaker, because I don't know that I can agree with you on that point.
Okay, so over the years, Undertaker obviously has had a lot of different characters, but I feel like Taker it's more of a show. The wrestling anymore. It's the character. And I almost feel like we have to we're fed the character that the Undertaker is unbeatable, even though he's been beaten many times. And it's forced at this point. If it was the American Badass Undertaker and he came out, scene of that at WrestleMania, I would have been all in. But it's this continuous, like, same old character of the Undertaker, where he just takes 7 hours to walk out to the ring, and he does his 3 moves. Because you joke about this, how you hate, like, old school and the same moves with Randy Orton, right?
I hate that with everybody. That's one thing I will 100% agree with you on.
Tell me what the Undertaker mostly is when he's in that ring. Is it a bunch of new moves, or is it the same 3, 4, 5 moves that he's gonna do in a match? And I'm over it now. And to be honest, I can go back to matches, and I'm more into who he's wrestling and less into what he's doing. I made the point of Mick Foley. Foley did everything in that Hell in a Cell match. He did absolutely everything for the Undertaker in that match. So as much as we think that Undertaker character is so epic and amazing, I'm just not. I don't get it. I don't get why we continue to keep this guy around. That I can name 4 or 5 wrestlers that I'd rather see in that ring than him, just because of his entrance.
I think it's important in history of wrestling that we create categories for wrestlers, and one of those categories is called a promo wrestler. And so Undertaker would be one of the greatest promo wrestlers ever, because it wasn't about what happened in the ring as much as what happened outside of the ring. The stories that he was involved in so many times were very, very, very good. Now, some of those matches that he had were pretty good, but at the expense of somebody else selling, not as much as him doing really good. Like you think of some of
Shawn Michaels,
yeah.
Bret Hart,
Jeff Hardy. One of his greatest matches he had was with Jeff Hardy, and Jeff Hardy just like murdered himself during that match. Yeah, I'm kind of torn on the topic. I definitely see where you're coming from, and I definitely am over, and I've mentioned it before WrestleMania, like I don't want to see Undertaker that much. When you throw him into a random Raw, like I don't really care. I'm just like, oh, look, cool as Undertaker. But like when it's like, oh, we got to make sure we save time for our Undertaker segment at a WrestleMania. I mean, luckily they didn't do that this year.
I'm glad they didn't do it this year.
But I think it's tricky.
And think about it. He spent more years as the dead man than any other character, right? So when you talk about a full package of a wrestler, what else does the Undertaker have?
Yeah.
What does he say? Rest in peace?
Yeah. Says the same thing all the time, yeah.
So if you talk about like a well-rounded wrestler with all the different, characteristics of one of the best wrestlers of all time, I don't put the Undertaker up there.
It's everybody holding on to nostalgia too much. Absolutely. People get way too nostalgic with wrestling, and I've made the argument before that is just, it's cancerous in wrestling to lean too much on nostalgia. Like I think that Vince nowadays does a pretty good job of not showing up too much.
He picks his moments.
Yeah. Back when he was involved with Stone Cold back in the day, it was a little bit different, because he was so integral to that storyline. He's not integral really to any storyline. So when you see him come out to announce Elias getting on SmackDown, well, that's just so he can be out there for just a second to get Roman Reigns over. There's no other purpose other than that. And that's, I think, good use of a nostalgic character to get beat up. When you have nostalgic characters come back and try to make them seem like almost ungodly, that's not good for business. I mean, when they first brought Kurt Angle back, right, he was beating people, and it's not like he was any better at the beginning of his return as the GM than he was towards the end of it. He was pretty bad at wrestling the whole time. He didn't look good ever.
And small moments, but yeah, it was definitely a shell of himself, right?
It's sad. It's sad when wrestlers do that. It's kind of like Ric Flair retiring from WWE and then going to TNA and looking like awful.
Yeah.
It's not good for their legacies, but then again, it's wrestling. I don't know that I really care about their legacies. I can remember the good times and the good matches that I saw with these people and not be totally upset that, you kind of threw it all away there at the end.
Again, I mean, we talk about what our favorite is and what our least favorite is, and a lot of that has to do with what you mentioned. Though it's nostalgia. It's the idea of what did you remember of the Attitude Era? What was the best parts for you of the Attitude Era? Like that's nostalgia too.
That's why I like
Yeah.
hardcore matches so much, because
Same idea. Like if
yeah,
you see the same guys doing hardcore matches, in their 50s and 60s, is it still entertaining to you? Do you still get into it? If Tommy
uh,
Dreamer comes out there and has a hardcore match with Mick Foley right now, or you can be like, man, these guys are old.
wow, that's interesting. It's interesting that you use Tommy Dreamer, because I would say this. I would think most of the time I would be like, why? Why are you out there, Tommy Dreamer? But he did show up on Lucha Underground one time, and that was pretty fun.
Well, he still wrestles. I mean, he
Yeah,
wrestles a lot still, but even that, I mean, he would even say it, I'm sure. He's still wrestling, but he's a shell of himself. He's not
of
doing what he used to
course.
do. So it's the same argument I'm making for the Undertaker. He's out there and he's doing his 4 or 5 moves. Yeah, the guy used to be pretty quick. Remember when he first came out as the Undertaker? Like that guy was skinny and he was fast. But as years passed by, he, slowed down, and now he's what he is now, which is this old guy with one, big boot and a, old school move or a choke slam and a tombstone, and it's over.
He's good at rolling his eyes into his head.
Yes, again, the character. The character is really good, but I can make the same argument for Stone Cold. Stone Cold didn't have a lot of moves.
He just could
Which was
deliver one hell of a
amazing.
promo. He was so
Oh,
good on the mic.
amazing promo. But again, like, that's why I go to Shawn Michaels every time, because I don't know that you can find a part of Shawn Michaels that wasn't great. But great. His mic skills were great. His in-ring ability was great. His persona, his character, whether it be the Heartbreak Kid or whether it be Shawn Michaels from DX or whether it be the guy who was just coming back from injury to go against Triple H, or the guy who was born again, or the guy who was going back to his old gimmicks, every single time was good, right? So I don't
Yeah,
know there's a point of Shawn Michaels that you could say is weak. Other wrestlers that we talk about that we say are the best of all time, and I could pick something apart from them. I mean, even Bret the Hitman Hart had his mic skill issues.
sure. Yeah, he
He was an
was.
amazing character, amazing in the ring sometimes, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I maybe. And the only problem is like this is just a case of a person wrestling too long. I think your counter arguments to that would be both Sting and Ric Flair have to be put
yeah,
up there with Shawn Michaels in regards to in their primes, and when they should have been wrestling, they were damn near perfect.
yeah. No, Flair, trust me, Flair is 1B to Shawn Michaels 1A to me. Flair, going back and watching any of Flair stuff, whether it be promos or in-ring stuff, him and the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, I mean, those matches are just crazy. They were doing back then. But Sting, I have to. Steven bailed on us, but I wish Steven didn't have to go, because I struggled with Sting before he was in the rafters. His promos, I think he's great in the ring, but again, I think it's another thing where I can point to. I don't know if his mic skills were that great. I mean, Sting, or going up against NWO Sting, did he talk, or did he just carry a black bat?
I don't know that he talked very much, but I would definitely point you towards just go onto the network and just start watching WCW Monday Night Nitro and just start from the very beginning.
I
And
mean,
and
yeah, I'm sure he
and
had some decent ones, but like, what do we remember Sting for? Do we remember him for blonde hair Sting, or remember him for the Crow?
well, that depends on who you ask. I think if you ask me and Steven, we would say both. But everybody definitely looks at the Crow.
Yeah, I think that was his more popular of the two.
Yeah, it was a good character shift, so
I just there's so many other guys I would put ahead of him. Randy Macho Man Savage, Ric Flair.
Ultimate
Um,
Warrior. Nah, no, actually not me.
no, no. No, not Ultimate Warrior. I mean, Ultimate Warrior was a great character and everything, but it's almost a small sample size, I feel like, too. Like, he just obviously to see him wrestle longer with WWE, but
If I'm trying to stay
um,
neutral and do what I think is a Mount Rushmore, he has to make it. I can't put Macho Man up there. I liked Macho Man, but I mean he might make it up there, but it's got to be Shawn Michaels. It's got to be Shawn Michaels and Sting and Ric Flair, and then the fourth gets difficult. I remember when we talked about this one time at the bar, and
mhm.
that was like almost an agreement that we kind of came to. Maybe you disagreed on Sting a little bit, but it was like doing those as like 1, 2, 3 was pretty easy, and then it was like, God, but who do you put on fourth? Who do
Yeah,
you like
yeah.
from like a mainstream perspective put on fourth? And I know some people would say The Rock, but my problem with The Rock is maybe body of work, maybe.
But you had what? So who's left? You had The Rock, you had Stone Cold left, you
Stone
had
Cold wouldn't be there. I'm sorry if I make people mad when I say that, but Stone Cold wouldn't be there.
I'm
He
mad about it.
because stunning Steve Austin was not the greatest part. You know, he wasn't memorable. Whereas Sting was memorable for the light and the dark, Steve Austin was not memorable enough for the light. You know what I mean?
This might be a little bit outside of the even top 10, but full body of work. What about Chris Jericho?
I think that's a great answer, especially how he like basically redid his character so many different times and it just worked and worked and worked. And then, gosh, he went to New Japan and he reinvented himself and it worked. And I'm sure he's
Mhm.
going to do the same thing in AEW. Chris Jericho is a great answer. I think that 100% is right. You know,
And there's
and I would
plenty
love
of guys close too, right? I mean, there's
well,
plenty of guys that are real close.
I would love to hear arguments for some of them, and I think I think I could be wrong, but I feel like if Nick was here, he might make an argument for The Rock.
Would.
And I understand arguments for The Rock, but I think Jericho's actually better than The Rock.
Yeah, I mean, Nick definitely he grew up with The Rock, and that's one of his, if not favorite wrestlers. And obviously in ring, he was great. Mike skills, he was amazing. Um, he had the right look and everything. It's just how long did he stick around and the back and forth sometimes of showing up with that nostalgia. It almost hurts them. I feel like when they come back and get a great pop, it's not always a good thing. I feel like because if they come back for long term, like, hey, I'm back and I'm going to stick around for a while, that's great. But if they come back for just like
A match like Batista.
what one program, right? Batista did one program with Triple H and he's gone again. I don't know that that helped Batista's career at all, right?
I don't know that it
Like,
hurt it either. It just like I said, I think I had mentioned. I said this is really just a win-win situation for the WWE because people go, "Oh, look, this Guardian of the Galaxy guy is going to be on WWE," and then the opposite way is, "Oh, hey, look, we've got the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy." Like it kind of goes back and forth, and they both help promote each other.
mm,
That's when we enter the realm of like, making money is important, and I get that, but to people like you and me who aren't as concerned about the making of the money, we're the ones who sit here and complain about the decisions they make most of the time that are based on money
all the time. If
all
I'm
the
not
time.
complaining, I'm not breathing.
Hour and a half every week. Which, speaking of an
So
hour and a half, we've been talking for an hour and a half. So I guess no Steven here. It stinks that he's not here for me to ask him, the storyline that I want them to be working on. But as usual, I'll ask you storyline you want them to be pushing going into next week.
I'm in for them breaking up the New Day. I think it's a good little twist. Let's either send Xavier Woods on the shelf and let's let Kofi stand on his own for a while. Um, let's see what we can do with just Kofi by himself. I'm fine with him keeping the title. I'm fine with him dropping the title to KO. but I'd like him to be on his own for a little while here, and then you could bring the New Day back together down the line. It doesn't even have to be soon. It could be when Big E's back. Give Xavier Woods a run by himself someplace. Send him over to Raw. I'd like them to now and figure out how we can make this storyline last, because you got the great pop at WrestleMania. You got Kofi over big time. But now, how do you keep him going? And honestly, he's got to get back to his underdog state. And him being the champion, I don't know if that's the right spot. I think he needs to be chasing something rather than everyone chasing him. So we'll see what they do, but I'd like to see them give him a run on his own and let the other guys take a break. Not break him up entirely, but just take a break. So what is your storyline that you need to see some work on?
I need them to. I don't think they need to do it organically, like from like having him face jobbers and then working his way up. I want them to pair Buddy Murphy with somebody that can hang with him and just allow those matches to just create the legend. So I think, like, how about I'll ask you this. Does this match sound like a good match to you? Buddy Murphy versus Chad Gable.
Oh, how did you are you in my house?
Because
Like, I'm sitting here circling Chad Gable on my piece of paper right now because I'm like, man, what if they did like a best out of 7 with those two?
I know.
Like,
Let's
build
do
some
that.
crazy storyline that they had to fight best out of 7. That could be amazing.
Let's do that.
I'm in.
I mean, I'm not sure if you're wanting to keep Buddy Murphy as a heel. I had the feeling that kind of felt that way. So I don't know how you create that storyline other than maybe having Buddy Murphy going out and bragging, and then, he wins, and then Chad wins, and he wins, and then Chad wins, and they just keep having matches, and you just you start out with kind of a basic match, but that's gonna get some love though, and then the next week you add to it, and you add to it, and you add to it, and you just let it go crazier and crazier and crazier, and it culminates in the match 7 at a pay-per-view where they go all out and they incorporate tables and just make it absolutely nuts. I think that that's a good way to get somebody like that over. I think you could do the exact same thing with Cedric Alexander. I want these 205 guys to get some love because I don't watch 205 Live as nearly as much as I used to. But when we were watching it all the time, these were some of the people that I really, really, really enjoyed, and it would be great for them, and I think it would be great for all wrestling fans.
Yep, I agree. It's a good one.
So that's all for this week, folks. Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Like the video if you liked it. Disliked if you don't. If you dislike it, make sure you leave a comment. Tell us what we can do better. Tell us what you like. Anything at all. I'm Big Baby Jimmy. It's Chris Tiro. This has been the Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.